Hello and welcome to Passing Priority. My name is Mike and today we have a new deck built around a new legend from the soon to be released Kamigawa Neon Dynasty set. Atsushi, the Blazing Sky, is a 4-mana legendary dragon spirit costing 2 and 2 red. It is flying and trample, and whenever Atsushi dies we choose one. We can either exile the top 2 cards of our library and we may play them until our next turn, or we can create 3 treasure tokens. Both these abilities are very useful, helping us dig through our deck to find more spells to cast and providing some mana to do it. However, getting these abilities to trigger a few times a game would not be too crazy. So what if we want them to trigger a lot in a game? That's what this deck tries to do. Our plan is to continually loop our commander from the graveyard to the battlefield, each time getting more treasures for mana or exiling more cards we can cast. Ending the game once we've made infinite mana and our whole deck ready to play from exile. So our game plan is to ramp early, dig through our deck to find the cards we need to combo off, and have our opponents go out in the ashes of our Dragon Spirit's countless resurrections. And to support this, we have our usual ramp, removal, and a lot of card advantage, but we also have some tutors, some recursion and protection pieces, and of course our combo and backup pieces should we need them. Let's start with ramp. Starting at the bottom of our curve is our classic Soul Ring and Wayfarer's Bauble at 1 mana. And continuing our artifact ramp, we have Arcane Signet, Cold Steel Heart, Fire Diamond, Mind Stone and Star Compass in our 2 mana slot. We have some ramp pieces that offer more than just mana. Dragon's Horde will gain a gold counter whenever a dragon enters the battlefield. Then instead of tapping it for mana, we can remove a gold counter to draw a card. We are not a dragon tribal deck, but our commander is a dragon, so this can help us dig a little further into our deck if we need it. Honoured Heirloom provides some graveyard hate in a mana rock. An Unstable Obelisk provides some targeted removal. Very useful as Mono Red does have some permanent types it struggles to get rid of. And that's why we also have Liquid Metal Torque. Red can deal with artifacts, so this will allow us to turn any pesky enchantments and creatures into artifacts to be easily smashed away. Lastly, Mirrored Landscape only takes up a land slot inside our deck and can be sacrificed to ramp us an additional land. But the biggest section of this deck is focused on helping us dig into the cards that we want to cast. So let's have a look at how we shall find the cards we need to win. In classic red style, we can never draw cards without discarding some. So most of these cards won't take us up on the number of cards we have in hand, rather they will ditch cards we don't need to help us get cards we want. Faithless Looting, Faithless Salvaging, Thrill of Possibilities and Tormenting Voice all of us discard cards and replace them with hopefully something more useful to advance our game plan. Pirate's Pillage, Seize the Spoils and Unexpected Windfall all do the same, but also create us treasure tokens. This can be very useful as, since our commander also creates treasure tokens, we have some effects in the deck that benefit from using these artifact tokens. One such effect is Quicksmith Genius, which will allow us to discard a card to draw a card each time an artifact enters the battlefield. Where Trading Post and Treasure Cove, a transformed treasure map, will allow us to sacrifice a treasure to draw a card. And since we are in red, we have access to some hand-wheeling effects. Magus of the Wheel, Runehorn Hellkite and Wheel of Misfortune all allow us to discard our hand to get a new grip of 7 cards, while Korvath's Fury is similar but gets us however many cards we discarded plus 1. Lastly, we have some effects that exile cards from our library and allow us to play them. Reckless Impulse is a one-off effect that gets us access to 2 additional cards. Outpost Siege, if we choose Khans, will exile a card on each of our upkeeps. With this deck however, we may not want to always pick Khans for Outpost Siege, though we will talk about that later in the video. And we also have Chandra Torch of Defiance, with all modes offering something we want, from ramp and card advantage for the pluses, to removal and a potential win condition for the minuses. And with all this draw, we should hopefully find our win condition or a way to tutor for our win condition. So how are we planning to win? Our win condition revolves around our commander's death trigger and an interaction with another card. Nim Deathmantle is an equipment that, while making the creature it's equipped to, a black zombie with Intimidate and a +2/+2 power buff, has a much more powerful effect. Whenever a non-token creature dies, we may pay 4 mana, and if we do, we return that card to the battlefield and attach Nim Deathmantle to it. With our commander dying, we can generate 3 treasure tokens. That means we're only 1 mana off from being able to loot this continually. So this is where the third piece of our combo comes in. Ashnod's Altar can sacrifice a creature for 2 mana. So this is how our combo works. With all 3 pieces on the battlefield, we sacrifice our commander to Ashnod's Altar, generating 2 mana. This causes 2 triggers. Our commander asking to choose to either create 3 treasure tokens or exile 2 cards, and Nim Deathmantle wanting to try and return our commander for 4 mana. We will make the 3 treasure tokens first. Then, using the 2 mana from the altar plus 2 treasures, we will return our commander back to the battlefield equipped to Nim Deathmantle. Now we're back where we started with an additional treasure token in play. So this loop can now make us infinite treasure tokens and infinite mana. Once we have infinite mana, we can use to exile cards instead with our commander, and exile as many cards as we need to find a way to win the game. This is the most effective combo line we want to aim for in most games. But if we can't do this, we can add a few cards to our line and get similar results. The only piece we cannot replace is Nim Deathmantle, but if we can't get our Ashnod's Altar, we can use either Phyrexian Altar or Thermopod. These will only make us 1 mana when we sacrifice a creature, so for these to work we need an additional card. Our choices are Zorn, which will give us an additional treasure token whenever we create a treasure token, or Goldspan Dragon, which doubles the mana produced from our treasure tokens. Both these will help us get to the infinite mana we need, or we can use the dragon side of Outpost Siege, which won't make us infinite mana with our combo, but will provide us a way to turn our continually dying commander into infinite damage to our opponents. Zorn and Goldspan Dragon will also work if our sacrifice outlet is Goblin Bombardment. While with Zorn we won't make infinite mana, this will allow us to have infinite damage, which will very easily win us the game most times. And if our commander has been removed a few too many times, and is getting too costly to recast, we can perform our Ashnods and Death Nod loop with some other creatures to generate infinite colourless mana. Then we only need to add 2 red to get our commander back and start our proper combo again. Emerald's Hatcher, Pier and Kiran Nalar, and Siege Gang Commander all provide us at least 2 additional creatures when they enter the battlefield. With any of these, we can sacrifice 2 of the creature tokens they create, plus themselves, to make 6 mana. Then return the main creature back to the battlefield with 4 mana from that, netting 2 mana each time. And while very expensive in real money and not making creature tokens, as long as Dockside Extortionist can make 3 treasure tokens, the loop is the same as our commander. And again, get infinite mana, recast our commander, and use its death trigger to exile our library and find any of the win conditions in our deck. Pier and Kiran Nalar and Siege King Commander, as well as being replacement combo pieces, can also be win conditions for us. Once we have infinite red mana, which we need our commander or Dockside Extortionist to make, these can sacrifice the tokens they create instead to deal damage to our opponents. And since our combo has 2 artifacts, it would be nice to have some cards that can tutor for them. Gamble is the best option we have for a tutor in red, going to fetch any card, but forcing us to discard a card at random after we add whatever we want to our hand. This could put what we want in the graveyard, but we have some ways to get our artifacts back. One of our tutors that also recurs artifacts is Goblin Engineer, which tutors an artifact from our library to our graveyard, but also has an activated ability that will allow us to sacrifice an artifact to return another artifact with mana value 3 or less to the battlefield. Since both of our main pieces are under 3 mana, this means we can get back either piece we need if we accidentally put it in the graveyard or someone destroys it. An Inventor's Fair sits in our mana base, and as long as we control 3 artifacts, we can sacrifice it to search our library for an artifact and put it into our hand. We have 2 tutors that can only fetch us 1 card of our combo. Moonsilver Key can only fetch an artifact with a mana ability. This means it can only get us our Ashnod's Altar, but it has some other utility as it can be used to fetch one of our mana rocks with a useful secondary ability if we need to. Godo, Bandit Warlord, will only fetch an equipment when it enters the battlefield. The Nim Deathmantle is our only equipment, but since it's the most important card in any of our combos, a tutor that only fetches it is fine. Or replace one of the backup combo pieces with a Helm of the Host for a secondary combo win condition. If you want to know how that combo works, let me know in the comments and I'll make a video explaining it. For our last 2 tutors, they both have a way to turn a large amount of treasures into our key cards. Magna, Brazen Outlaw, cares a lot about dwarfs that we won't take advantage of in this deck, but her activate ability will have us sacrifice 5 treasures to tutor an artifact or dragon card from our deck to the battlefield. So with our commander out, if we have 10 treasures, we can immediately get both combo pieces onto the battlefield. And lastly, Indomitable Creativity is a big X spell that will require us to sink a lot of mana into. But for the value of X, we destroy that many artifacts or creatures. Then for each permanent destroyed this way, its controller reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal an artifact or creature and exile it. Once this has been done X times, all exiled cards are put on the battlefield. we can use this as removal, but we can destroy our own artifacts, creatures and treasure tokens and get a chance to cheat into play more powerful and impactful cards. Now to finish off our deck, let's have some removal, protection and recursion. For recursion, we have Sequestered Stash and Buried Ruin in our mana base to get artifact backs out of our graveyard, Sequester Stash to the top of our library and Buried Ruin to our hand. But Trash for Treasure needs us to sacrifice another artifact, but we get an artifact from our graveyard straight to the battlefield. And with a similar ability, we have the ready Scrap Savant. He also allows us to dig further into our deck with his +2 ability, and his -10 is nice, but it's unlikely we'll ever be aiming to use it. If our opponents do try to remove some of our cards, we have some ways to stop them. Tybalt's Trickery is a very chaotic counterspell, but it can counter any spell in red, so we will use it. The spell's controller will get to cast a new spell from their library for free, so we'll only want to rely on this if someone is trying to stop us from winning. Similarly, Bolt Bend and Ricochet Trap can change the target of a spell as long as it only has a single target. These two are here to protect us from when we start to combo off, but can be used to turn our opponent's removal, card draw, or even things like extra turn spells to our advantage. And for removal, we're relying on red burn power to get rid of any problematic creatures. Comet Storm can deal with multiple small creatures or target one large one, but this is also a way we can turn our infinite mana made from our combo into a win condition, point the damage our opponents face instead. Flame Slash, Lightning Bolt, Meteor Storm and Abrade all deal damage to a single target to hopefully clear away any annoying creature that stops us doing what we need to win. Abrade also hits artifacts, just like Pillage, Shenanigans and You Find Some Prisoners, which all also provide some small additional value on top of that. Chaos Warp is our go-to catch-all answer for a permanent we don't like, and Blasphemous Act and Star of Extinction act as our creature board wipes in case things get too scary for us. Add an amount of mountains and other utility lands and our deck is finished. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, consider liking this video as it really does support the channel. And if you're enjoying our content, then I hope you click the subscribe button or share my content with a friend, as it helps the channel keep growing and reach new people. The deck list can be found in the description, and if you want to find a list of all the decks I've built on the channel, you can check out my website, passingpriority.com, where I have the deck vault, a list of all decks I've covered on the channel. Thank you for watching, and goodbye for now.